is a football podcast, man. Meat, football, good. Man, we talk football. We eat burgers.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. We're in the driver's seat with you. We're talking fantasy football with me, Josh, and over there through the power of the internet, we got Ben.
Back at it.
We're having a good time. We're talking about quarterbacks and tight ends, the two positions, which are, what do we call them? The
Very
onesies?
Polarizing. Yeah.
They're a bit
onesies.
polarizing. It's, for all the flack we give tight ends and sometimes quarterbacks, they are a fun time.
Yeah. The pain is what makes it fun.
Yeah. Listen, having an elite one, it's a special feeling.
You feel smarter than everyone else when you have a good one.
I mean,
I feel superior.
You don't necessarily
when I have
need to be
Travis
that
Kelce.
smart. Yeah, it does not make you smarter because everybody knows Travis Kelce's better than everybody else.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
But having him feels so good.
You walk into every lineup and go, I am better than you.
It's amazing because, like,
It is
looking
the ultimate
at
flex.
It really is because, like, I was pulling up the dynasty teams today, and I was like, man, it's a team that I don't have Travis Kelce, but like the lineup is pretty solid. It's up and down studs, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, and then I look at Sleeper's projection for the team, and I'm like, hey, that's the number 2 projection on the week in the entire league. Let's go. And then I go over there and I look at Ben's team and at Ben's team's projection, and it is 15 points higher than mine. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because he's got Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce will do that.
Oh, and I thought I was doing good with Mark Andrews, but no.
Yep.
The gap is still enormous.
And I got TJ Hawkinson on the bench. That feels good. That is the ultimate security blanket.
Good for you. Should I celebrate this?
I am. You don't have to, but I am.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we're talking about tight ends. We're talking about quarterbacks on this episode. But before we get into all that,
so you can pack them into one.
It's digestible.
This is the last of our rankings.
Right. We're doing
redraft rankings are over after this.
Yeah, we're doing the final bit of rankings on this one. And then in the next one, we're going to hop into a mock draft with all of our rankings together. We'll do a little mock draft. And then the episode it's my favorite episode of the year is here in a couple weeks. And I don't know if I should reveal it.
I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know if I should say what it is, but it's amazing.
Yeah. If you listen to the show, you'll be able to guess it, and you'll be able to guess people on it when you get to it, probably.
Oh, yeah. I was already thinking today about, like, the guys that I would have on that episode, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Stay tuned.
So anyways, we got some good stuff coming. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, we got some news to hop into. Training camp is in full.
Stuff's starting to happen.
Yeah, stuff is flying left, right, and center. And, we got a lot to talk about. So, first and foremost, Javonte Williams. We talked about him last week. He's been cleared for contact. He's ready to go.
Starting with the good news. This is ridiculous.
Good grief. It truly blows my
no
mind
limitations.
Because it should not be possible.
And there's not like 100% guarantee that he's, going to see everything week 1, I guess. But the fact that it was 9 months ago, I think, or maybe not 9 months ago, probably 10 months ago.
Yeah, no, it was
destroyed his knee.
Ago.
Cleared for contact with no limitations, full practice. That's insane.
Absolutely insane. I don't know. I know we did our running back rankings recently where we talked about Javonte, and we were like, the health is a question mark, but like if we know he's going to be healthy, let's say it was like starting week 6 or something. If he starts playing week 1 and gets ramped up and is ready to go, is close to 100% by week 6, I mean, it's wheels up on Javonte. He is at that point like a top 15
He's moving
running
up
back.
the rankings.
Yeah. So he's a big riser for us. I know the injury is a little scary, but just the news is so positive right now. And we compared it to J.K. Dobbins' injury last year, but J.K. Dobbins did not have this level of positive information out about him and his injury at this point in the season. In fact, it was all negative about J.K. Dobbins. So this is a bit of a different situation, I feel like.
Yeah, very excited.
Next, we got Anthony Richardson is getting all the starting reps in. He got all the reps with the ones in their most recent training camp practice. We're recording this Tuesday, August 1st. So things are trending right for old Anthony Richardson.
It's really good news for Anthony Richardson. Still don't know if he's a good quarterback, but if he is playing, he's going to be good for fantasy.
Yeah. And honestly, I look at it like Justin Fields was the worst passer in the NFL last season. Literally the worst. Maybe outside of Zach Wilson. But he was one of the 5 worst passers in the NFL last season and was amazing for fantasy.
Yeah. Spectacular.
So he does not have to be great. That's all I'll say about that. In some very sad news, Tim Patrick tore his Achilles in practice yesterday, which is now 2 consecutive season-ending injuries for Tim Patrick.
Brutal game sometimes. Sometimes some guys are just unlucky.
Yeah. I didn't realize this, but he signed a 3-year deal 2 years ago, and he is likely not going to play a snap of regular season football on that deal.
That is wild.
Yeah. Absolutely sucks. I mean, he signs the deal, and then like a week later in practice, rips his knee up, and then now a year later tears up his Achilles.
This one is also much harder to come back from, too.
Yeah, and then also the other part of it is KJ Hamler. I don't know if you've seen this, but KJ Hamler had like a heart defect or something, and he got waived by the Broncos.
Wow. So Marvin Mims stock looking up.
Yeah, literally all of Marvin Mims' competition in the receiver room has been deleted.
It is back to Sutton and Judy, and now Marvin Mims.
Yeah. So weird things going on over there in that high altitude Denver.
Yeah.
The Denver situation is a little shiesty.
Yeah.
Speaking of shiesty.
Never skip cartilage day. Always do that.
Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are both injured in training camp practices for the Seahawks. And the best part of it is Charbonnet's injury apparently has come out of absolutely nowhere. Nobody knows what happened.
And he's out indefinitely, they say. What does that mean? What did he do to be out indefinitely? Like, there was never no breaking, like, Charbonnet missed practice. Like, they didn't even tell us until I saw the story, and they're like, yeah, they haven't practiced for a few days. I'm like, what do you mean a few days?
Pete Carroll goes, yeah, it just kind of, like, snuck up on us. Like, it just was this thing that kind of developed, and then, now he's injured. It's like, wait, what? His shoulder just, started hurting?
And same thing with Walker. He has got a groin injury. They didn't tell us he was missing time until the other day, and they said, like, yeah, he's missed, like, 3-4 practices. Like, that would have been nice to know.
Appreciate the heads up, Pete.
Yeah. And they said it's a lingering thing that's going to keep him out a while. Again,
love that.
What's a while?
I love how these young stud running backs are already dealing with injuries that are lingering that they will be dealing with for a significant amount of time. That's just lovely.
Great. Honestly, good for JSN. Because they're going to be throwing the ball.
Listen, yeah. I feel like they're going to be doing a whole lot of 11 personnel, a whole lot of 3 wide, and JSN is going to... I don't understand how he's still being drafted in like the 7th or 8th round. Blows my mind. It's the easiest smash pick in the 7th round I can remember in recent memory.
He's looking more and more like a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift has reportedly been lining up all over the field.
I pushed for us to talk about this story.
This is literally Ben said, hey, we should talk about this. And I was like, this means nothing. Ben was like, let's do it anyway. So we're doing it.
It's a fluff piece. But he's lining up in slot passing situations. Maybe he'll finally get used like he's supposed to be used.
Yeah, I don't think so, because this is the absolute definition of a puff piece.
Lining up all
This
over
is
the
a
field.
guy who attended one practice and was like, oh, DeAndre Swift is like running around a little bit. He's lining up everywhere. And all of a sudden,
because he is that good.
we have DeAndre Swift mania happening in all your dynasty
Looking
leagues.
in our league, I think one of our home leagues, I hope it is you and me in the championship. And I hope, maybe there's been an injury or two for me, and I got to start DeAndre Swift as my RB1 or 2. And he goes out there, puts up 30 points, and he's the reason I beat you in the championship.
Oh, that would suck so much.
That would
just be awful.
Poetic.
That would. Which league is this? Because you've got him in many leagues.
Our first league.
Okay.
I only have him in 2.
Wait, it's the 2 that matter.
Yeah, the 2 we
There's
paid
levels
most
to
attention
this.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. There's levels. You having Swift in the main leagues is not the same as you having Swift in the league that you look at once a week to check waivers.
Yeah. We'll see.
I've got Swift in the league that I check once a week to do waivers.
I checked that.
And I'm
I've
trying to
actually
get
put
rid
a
of
lot
him.
more. I put a lot more work into that league lately. I check it more than once a week.
So we're up to 3 leagues that we care about. I'm going to probably end up doing like 10, 12 leagues this year, and I'll probably only check like 3 of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot more best ball than I did in years past because I don't have time to check 20 leagues.
I need to do some best ball. That's another thing that like I have been itching to hop into a best ball dynasty league, and I just have not found one yet.
I almost feel like dynasty league's kind of cheating with best ball. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I feel like a best ball dynasty league would be super fun in that you don't have like the grind, but yet you do have the grind because you're still making the trades and everything. And I think it changes up how you approach trading when it's best ball.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I feel like you would care more about waivers too, because like, if a guy,
I'm just betting on upside.
Yeah, like if a guy is on waivers that just happens to have upside and you snag him and he ends up in your lineup that week, I mean, that's a smash. I doubt that ever happens, but, I don't know.
We'll see.
Increases the variables.
It'd be fun. Tell me if you do that. I might join.
Fair enough. Okay, we need to talk about, the running back situation has gotten...
Elephant in the room.
I don't even know what to say about it anymore, but the timeline of Jonathan Taylor's weekend was interesting to say the least. Apparently he supposedly requested a trade, then had a meeting with Jim Irsay in his bus.
See, I think what happened was the Colts said they're not going to extend him, and they told him they weren't going to extend him. He had a meeting with Jim Irsay, a private meeting, where I think Irsay pretty much reiterated the same thing. We're not going to extend you, blah, blah, blah. After that meeting, that's when he requested the trade. Then Irsay came out saying, under no circumstances are we trading Jonathan Taylor. That's when the ridiculous quote came out where he's like, if I die and Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, nobody's going to care. And then it came out that they're going to put him on the non-football injury list for an apparent back injury that he suffered in some kind of training. And like a few hours later, Jonathan Taylor said, that's absolutely not true. I don't have a back injury. I don't know where that information is coming from. It is a mess right now.
It's wild in Indianapolis. Imagine your owner being like, if I died and Jonathan Taylor was drummed out of the league, nobody would miss us. Like,
no, I'm not playing
gosh.
for you either. No, I'm not playing for you.
Good grief.
There's no chance I play for you.
Jonathan Taylor is the Colts' best player. Their best player, and Jim Irsay is just so flip. Because And they haven't
care.
even offered him a contract. It's not like they offered him something and he turned it down. They haven't even offered him one, and
They said they're not going to.
For one. I don't get it.
Yeah, they're not gonna offer him.
Like, I mean, I understand that he might be too expensive for them. Like, maybe he wants $15 million a year. Okay, maybe that's too expensive for them. They haven't even offered him 10, 11. They haven't offered him jack.
Give him something, like, other than coming out and just saying, I'm not going to extend you, and then expect you to give it your all after this season. That you're like, I'm done with you after this year, but you better go out there and play.
Jeez. What's crazy about it is the reports, and I don't know how much you can put stock in these, but reports are that there's a bunch of teams that are willing to trade capital for him and then also extend him. And I've seen the Chiefs come up as a potential landing spot for him.
The Chiefs come up every time there's a good player on the market, though.
That is true.
They came up with Hopkins. They come up with all these guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I would not expect, like, a Super Bowl winning team doesn't need to go acquire a running back. It would certainly help the offense.
I don't know. That'd be a good move, though.
Yeah, but
like you can't pay a first from him, but like, I'll pay you a second and a fifth round pick for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, but then you got to go pay him, and that's the part where it's like, if you're gonna send that for him and say he wants $16 million a year, I mean, you just got to give him $16 million a year, and that's not something that I would want to do, you know, unless it's Christian McCaffrey.
I don't know. We'll see. I've never seen anything like this.
I haven't either. I mean, this is truly nuts because, like, you know, there's J.K. Dobbins out here. He's mad. Nick Chubb has said that he wants a new contract. He's not going to get it.
Chubb is not going to get a new contract.
Chubb, he won't. Like, he's probably the best running back in the NFL. He will not get he won't get a third contract or whatever it is.
Yeah. And here's let's just find a little positive. Say the Colts break down and decide to trade him. Where you want to see him go? I know where I want to see him.
I hadn't really thought about this. I don't know. Where do you want to see him go?
I want to see him, preferably my top two choices would be Miami and Minnesota. I think those would both be
Minnesota.
Excellent landing spots. And then obviously the Bills, because having him as a hammer back there would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota, but yeah. I mean, imagine John, and I know this would not be good for fantasy, but like imagine Jonathan Taylor behind the Lions offensive line.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's 1,900 yards waiting to happen.
Yeah, David Montgomery's done at that point.
Like I know
Monty's out.
I know Jahmyr Gibbs is there, and I know they value the running back position. You know, we know they value it. They paid up for one, but good grief, that would be something.
Yeah, Monty's out.
The final bit of news here is Joe Burrow strained his calf in practice, and the whole world paused.
We were terrified.
Ben, you were shaking in your boots.
I do. I own Burrow in one of our main leagues. Really need him to be good this year.
You're heavily invested in this Bengals offense, and Joe Burrow tearing his Achilles would not help matters.
Fortunately, it is not a torn Achilles.
Yeah, fortunately, he's going to be ready week one.
The panic, it's just a strained calf.
The panic was such that we had people messaging us like, you know, what should I do with Jamar Chase? And it's like, same you were already going to do. He's going to be fine. Joe Burrow's going to play week one. You're fine.
I'm not concerned at all. He'll be fine.
We forget Joe Burrow had his appendix out in training camp last year.
Yeah.
He did not play.
QB 6 last year, is that right?
Yeah. He didn't do any of the offseason last year. It was deleted. And then he played the regular season. It was awesome. So he's fine.
He's going to be okay, guys. Everybody calm down.
He'll be all right. Okay. Since we're on the quarterback subject, why don't we hop into our composite list of quarterbacks? Again, this is not my list or just Ben's list, but it's our list.
We put our lists together. These are where they all average out.
We are Groot. And that's how we got our quarterbacks. Let's just start things off at number 1.
The man himself.
It's Mr. Josh Allen.
My boy.
I don't know if this is surprising to some or just what should happen. I have no idea. But we are very high on Josh Allen. We're high on the rushing floor that he's got, but also the elite passing floor that he has as well. So he is like, if Jalen Hurts threw the ball a ton, that was what Josh Allen was.
Yeah. I think his injury hurt him a little bit more than I think people realize toward the end of last year. I mean, he was absolutely on a roll before that injury happened. There was the drama with Stephon Diggs. I think they're past that now. They've got James Cook as their leading passing back. They bring in Dalton Kincaid. They boosted the offensive line. Things are set up for Josh Allen to just not really get back on track. He just keep things going. He was the quarterback 2 last year. After back-to-back seasons of being the quarterback 1, he's just going to keep going.
Yeah, and I guess to further that point, he was a top 5 fantasy scorer or a top 5 quarterback each of the first 6 weeks last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was delivering for fantasy every single week, and the injury hurt him. But, after week 13, it was QB9, QB2, QB4, QB3. So,
still balling.
Still was incredible. I mean, he had a middling stretch there for a little bit, but like his rushing floor allowed him to still be incredibly effective for fantasy, even when he wasn't throwing the ball incredibly well, even when the offense wasn't humming. He's very good. He averaged 24 points a game last year. There's really only one other quarterback that has been as accomplished for fantasy as Josh Allen, and that's Patrick Mahomes. It is Allen and Mahomes are 2 of the best fantasy quarterbacks we've ever had, and they're just happening to play together.
In the past 5 seasons, both of them have had 2 QB1 finishes. The other one was Lamar Jackson.
It's bonkers.
That is unbelievable.
Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback to average 25 fantasy points per game in 3 seasons, or he's one of 2. He's one of 2 quarterbacks to average 25 fantasy points per game in 3 seasons. The other one to do it is Josh Allen.
Needless to say, these 2 guys, and funnily enough, Patrick Mahomes is not our quarterback 2.
He's not, but, and it feels bad. I personally have him ranked at 2, but since it's a composite
I am the
list,
reason he's down here.
We have Jalen Hurts at 2, and it's Ben's fault.
Yeah. To be fair, I have him at 3. If you want to make yourself feel better, we can have these guys as tiers. It's Allen,
Fair
Mahomes,
enough.
Burrow. Pick whichever one you want of those 3.
They are 1 tier.
Alex
they
Mahomes
are
Hurts.
incredible.
I said Burrow, sorry.
Let me read you these finishes for Jalen Hurts because they are equally insane. He has 2 finishes outside the top 6. Well, 3 if you factor in week 18. But outside of week 18, 2 finishes outside the top 6 quarterbacks last year. Insanity. QB4, QB3, QB2, 15, 3, 12, 2, 6, 4, 6, 2, 1, 2, 1.
So what you're
Jalen
saying
Hurts
is
basically finishes as a top 5 quarterback every single week.
He had 3 weeks outside of the top 6.
Yeah.
He had 15 points against Jacksonville, 18 points against Dallas, and week 18, where they already had the 1 seed up, he was quarterback 24.
Yep.
Every other week, he's a top 6 quarterback.
Absolutely incredible.
That is bonkers.
And it's probably going to be more of the same, if not a little bit better, now that they've paid him, now that Miles Sanders has moved on. I mean, we know that in short yardage situations around the goal line, Jalen Hurts is the goal line back. But also, there's a very real possibility that they view the offense as a passing offense moving forward. At least in the sense that, like, they were one of the most run-heavy offenses a year ago. And they might say, okay, we've got A.J. Brown, we got Devonta Smith, we got Goddard. We just paid Hurts. We need to start letting Hurts win more with his arm, even though he's still going to be incredibly effective with his legs. Like, there's, I think, room for Hurts to grow as a fantasy producer, which is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he is our number 2. He's incredible. And equally incredible, but maybe just a slight little step behind, is Patrick Mahomes at 3. We don't have him as a, oh no, he's 3. Like, he was the QB1 last year. He was incredible. He has been consistently incredible for fantasy, and he's probably the QB1 in Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, Dynasty, definitely. It kind of depends on your scoring format, too, for redraft. Yeah. If it's a 4-point passing league, definitely Hurts and Allen over him, no question. 5 points, it's a little bit more of a conversation. If you put him over Hurts, I won't argue with you. If we're doing 6-point, I'd probably have him at 1.
Yeah. Truly, because, he's probably going to throw for 35-plus touchdowns. He could go up to like 50. So
we've seen it
could be. It could be any range of those, and he was over 40 last year. What did he have? Did he have 46 last year? Was that what it was? I don't remember off the top of my head, but
I don't remember. It was a lot.
It was a bunch.
A lot.
And he was the MVP, and they won the Super Bowl. So, and he did it all without a true wide receiver 1. I mean, it was Travis Kelce and honestly just a bunch of Jags.
He threw for 41 touchdowns last year, 5,200 yards.
That's crazy.
And he runs the ball more than you think. He had 350 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. He consistently gets 300 yards rushing a year.
Yeah. It's his improvisational sort of style that it allows him to extend plays, and he runs the ball, like you said, a lot more than you would think. Like, I remember a couple years ago, there was I think I blindly thought that Justin Herbert ran the ball more than Mahomes. And this was prior to this past season.
You thought that Herbert didn't run the ball at all. And then I told you, no, he actually runs it as much as Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I had that argument reversed in my head.
I remember that argument because we were like, during recording, and I'm sitting here like, what are you talking about? Herbert only runs for like 90 yards a year. I'm like, no, yes, he does.
And then he got his ribs broken and he stopped running.
Yeah, last year was different. I am throwing out last year for Herbert.
Number 4, we've got not Herbert. We've got Lamar Jackson.
We keep doing this. We talk about a guy later on the list like, psych, it's not him.
It's Lamar Jackson. And I don't know how. I know. So in our personal rankings, we both had Lamar Jackson at 4. So him being at 4 in the composite, there is neither one of us is pulling the other to a higher ranking for Lamar Jackson. We equally love him. I think I have a feeling that I'm higher at 4 on Lamar Jackson than you are at 4 on Lamar Jackson. Probably. But we both love him.
I think we're kind of at a tier break. Mahomes, Allen, Hurts are probably the head of the pack. Then I think these next 4 guys are all fairly interchangeable, but I think Lamar has the highest probably weekly ceiling of all these guys, which is why in a 1 quarterback setting, I would have him here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got 40 points per week as a possibility, and I love the guys that are behind him, but they have hit 40 before, but it just doesn't feel as perennially, possible as it is with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And I could maybe I'm just painting the picture of Lamar Jackson differently.
You and I picture different things when we think of these quarterbacks.
You think of injuries.
Yeah, I do think of injuries. I think guys like Herbert and Burrow are far safer on a week-to-week basis. They're probably going to, their bad games may not be as bad as Lamar's. Honestly, we've seen Lamar can have a few stinkers here and there.
Yeah.
But new offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, added Zay Flowers, hopefully a healthy Rashad Bateman. They bring in Odell, so better weapons than he's had. New OC. As long as he stays healthy, 4 I'm perfectly happy taking him here.
Yeah, that's the key. They bring in new weapons. They bring in a new offensive scheme that is going to be a lot more pass centric than it has been in years past. A lot more. And they finally have weapons that they can run an offense like that. And it's not just that they brought guys in. Like the dudes they brought in are legitimately good. I mean, you already had Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. And I feel like Rashad Bateman is a good NFL receiver, but he's just struggled with injuries and hasn't been able to stay on the field. He has produced when he's been on the field. But you've also got Odell Beckham, who, I mean, he's also dealt with his own injuries and he's getting older. So how much can you expect him to still be that guy? I don't know. But I do know that his last full season, granted it was a few years ago, he was really good with Cleveland. And then he was also very solid for the Rams in their Super Bowl run, even though he didn't like jump off the stat sheet at you necessarily. He was going to be the Super Bowl MVP before he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. So I do think that Odell still has something there. And Zay Flowers has apparently been the best receiver in camp for them. He's been incredible.
I think he's going to hit receivers a lot more this year. Not like Mark Andrews is bad. He's still going to be great. But I think with the offensive coordinator, you're going to see Lamar stretch the field more and hit some receivers now, rather than Mark Andrews, and every now and then the Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Andrews gets targeted a bunch, but I think you're going to see Andrews running a little bit more of a varied route tree. But you're also going to see receivers stretching the field. And you're going to see, for one, you're just going to see competent wide receiver play outside of Mark Andrews, and he's not a receiver. You're also going to see an offense that tries to spread the ball around and spread the defense out a little bit, which they just haven't done in years past. They've been so run-focused that they just funnel everything to the tight end and the running backs.
Yeah, and with the concerns with J.K. Dobbins, Melvin Gordon is not all that, so Lamar will probably be the top rusher again. Yeah, this is a good spot for him.
Yeah. At 5, we've got Justin Fields.
Again, rushing.
Yeah, it is. He was on pace. Was it 1,200 yards last year that he was on pace for?
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. I picked him up off of waivers at one point, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Justin Fields was like a complete fantasy revelation last year, and he did it while not playing that well on the actual NFL
being
field.
One of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
It blows my mind. It's just the power of rushing.
I think he's a better quarterback. You bring in DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore's got to make an impact on him.
Yeah. I would imagine so. I know it's
help on the offensive line, which he desperately needed last year.
Yeah. We've talked, I think, about the narrative of adding a stud receiver and what it does to the quarterback. And I think we've brought up A.J. Brown. We've brought up Stephon Diggs going to Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts. And I don't think DJ Moore is to that level
he's
of an upgrade.
Those guys.
Yeah. But I do think that he can help elevate a league worst passing offense to potentially be league average. And I don't think with Justin Fields we should project him to all of a sudden be a great passer, but I think we can project him to not be the worst passer while still also having some of that weekly rushing upside that he had a year ago.
Absolutely. And again, fantasy scoring will come into context here. 4-point passing touchdown, easily Lamar and Hurts over our next two guys, or Lamar and Fields over these next two guys. 5 and 6 point, I think I have these two guys over both of them.
Fair enough. I feel like
Lamar maybe still stays up there in 5.
I think, yeah.
But 6 point, I think these next two guys skip both of them.
Yeah, I sort of view 5, 6, and 7 for us as kind of the same, but 6 and 7 are very similar, and Justin Fields is just like a different style, and we just tend to prefer rushing upside with fantasy quarterbacks. But at number 6, we talked about him briefly.
Keep talking
Justin
about
Herbert.
next to him. It's not really hiding anything. We probably know the next two guys.
You probably do. It's Herbert at 6 though for us, and I think I'm probably pulling this ranking up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I had Burrow's at 7. I think I had him at 5 when we did
Yeah,
this.
and I had Herbert at 5. So yeah, I feel like, and we can probably talk about Herbert and Burrow in sort of the same breath because I think they are a similar archetype of NFL quarterback, but for somewhat different reasons. Because Joe Burrow is, I think, like the second best quarterback in the NFL. He also has 2 dominant outside receivers.
Yes.
So they throw the ball an above average amount, but not the most in the NFL. And
think it
just
comes
on
up this year.
efficiency. It probably does come up a little bit this year. But like on
Especially
efficiency and
yeah.
touchdowns, Joe Burrow gets a lot of production. Justin Herbert throws the ball more than anybody else in the NFL, and they score a lot of points.
Yeah.
So there's also the element added in of the Chargers adding Kellen Moore, who has basically just churned out top 5 offenses in Dallas. So
And you bring in Quentin Johnston. Herbert finally has a loaded receiver room. I think Mark Andrews, not Mark Andrews, gosh, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. They have injury histories. You can probably count on them missing some games, but
yeah,
going into it, Herbert's ceiling. I think you can throw away last year with his injury plus others. His offensive line is healthy again. I think Herbert gets back to what we saw in 2021.
I'm curious, and this is a little bit of an aside, but do you see Quentin Johnston having the ability to take over as the team's number 1 even if Keenan Allen or Mike Williams get hurt? Or don't get hurt, sorry.
Or don't get hurt, no.
No, okay.
If they are both healthy, no, I do not see him as being the one.
Okay. So that's like a 0% possibility for you.
Yes, but he's a solid 3.
I view it as a non-0% chance that could happen, but low, but still non-zero.
Yeah. I'm not going to say 0, but like it's going to take a lot. I think Keenan is one of the most skilled receivers in the league, and Mike Williams is Quentin Johnston, just older.
No, they're different. To me, they're very different because Quentin Johnston, I mean, it's a whole different thing. But like Quentin Johnston, he's the slot that also happens to be one of the better yak guys that was in this past draft, whereas Mike Williams is not a yak guy. He's a jump ball guy. And Quentin Johnston is that, but he's not really a jump ball guy the way that Mike Williams is, and Mike Williams is definitely not the like after the catch guy that Quentin Johnston is.
I don't know if you watched Mike Williams in high school and as a or in college as a Gamecock fan, I saw him catch the ball and then carry 3 defenders in the end zone. So you want to talk to me about yak?
That's a little bit different there.
Freaking disrespectful.
At 7, we've got Burrow, and we kind of just went through it, but
I would argue him higher.
I know you would. Ben is a Burrow truther.
I'm a Herbert truther, too. I personally would argue them over Lamar and Fields. If I'm in a room by myself, I can talk myself into Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow out there.
You can talk me into Burrow and Herbert over Fields, and I'm not going to have any reservations about doing that. It's just the rushing, and these 2 guys have a lower rushing ceiling.
It is lower, but I think Joe Burrow runs a little bit more than we realize. Especially he's finally off that knee injury.
He's like a 250 yards per year kind of guy. It's like just enough that you can say he has a little bit of it. 5
rushing touchdowns, 250 coming off that knee. He's a lot better than he was.
Yeah. And Herbert, I feel like, is like a 300 to 350 kind of yards rushing as, when he's healthy. Obviously, when he's not healthy, it's different.
With those receiving weapons,
yeah,
5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns are in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. The only knock, and I'll say it for both of them, and we saw it with Herbert this past year, if the touchdowns don't come, they will end up being a disappointment. So if you have a season where you have an outlier year with Burrow, where instead of 40, he throws for 27, you're going to be like, oh, Burrow threw for 4,700 yards, but only had 27 touchdowns, finished as like the QB 9. What's up with that? It's just the touchdowns fluctuate. And so, it's not that Burrow had a bad season necessarily. It's just like
Yeah,
the
he could do that and
touchdowns
win the
didn't
Super
quite
Bowl
come.
probably.
Right. So I think you got to view Herbert and Burrow as they do have risk in that if the touchdowns don't necessarily happen the way you would hope, they end up being a disappointment.
Yeah.
All right. At 8,
Tier
we've
break.
got Trevor Lawrence. Big tier break, but Trevor Lawrence at 8.
I think Trevor could jump into this tier, though, this year.
I agree. I would view Trevor Lawrence as being the last elite quarterback that I'm actively pursuing in drafts.
Yeah, I feel good if Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback going into the year.
Yeah. So in a lot of the mock drafts I've been doing this offseason, I've been ending up with Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert in the 5th round.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And my main thing I'm excited for is we said it on the receiver episode. I am calling my shot that Lawrence getting Calvin Ridley is reminiscent of Allen getting Diggs, and he's going to level up this year.
I could certainly see it. I mean, Calvin Ridley, last time we saw him, was a consensus top 6 or 7 wide receiver in the NFL. Probably the best route runner. At least we considered him, along with Devontae Adams, one of the best route runners in the NFL.
I've got Adams, Diggs, and Ridley as the best route runners in the league. That's how good he is.
There you go. He's an incredible receiver. Training camp video, albeit they have been highlights, but it looks like Calvin Ridley is back and better than ever.
Did you see the video of Zay Jones running a route and then Ridley running a route? That is the difference between, and Zay Jones is a good receiver. That is the difference between a wide receiver 3 and a guy who truly has top 5 potential when you see that video.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, basically Zay Jones runs like a 10-yard in,
and it's a
good route. It's fine. Calvin Ridley runs it, and it's like you sped him up, like you put him on 1.5 times speed when he's running the route. Like, it's crazy how fast he runs his 10-yard
snaps it off, and he when he stops and makes the cut is like just twice as fast as Zay Jones could do it.
It's like watching a guy run the 40 who runs 4.7, and then watching John Ross run the 40. That's what it looked like.
And I get speed-wise, it's probably not that big a difference, but Ridley, he just takes more strides, I guess. And
it's the quickness.
Yeah, he's far more, it's explosiveness. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
He's more explosive than anybody else on the team.
So, I mean,
and that's
Trevor
what
Lawrence,
a top 5 receiver can do that, not a wide receiver 3.
Right. And, Trevor Lawrence in this offense with Doug Peterson, he was very solid last year as a fantasy quarterback and in real life with Christian Kirk, with Zay Jones, with Evan Ingram. But now if you add in Calvin Ridley, who has 1,300 yards as, very possible in his range of outcomes, you add that in and it just sort of levels up the overall offense. The offensive line maybe isn't, a top 10 unit like you would hope, but they've got weapons everywhere. They got Travis Etienne. They added Tank Bigsby as well. So I sort of view Trevor Lawrence as being certainly capable of leveling up to like 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns.
If you miss out on the top guys like we talked about, get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. At 9, I feel like we have another tier break, and we're talking about
Trevor's kind
Tua
of in his own.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Tua's probably benefiting from weapons more than anybody else on this list.
Oh, yeah. If Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waller are not there, Tua may not be on this list. But he fits so well into Mike McDaniel's system with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, he just go get the ball to those guys. He's going to have fantasy success because they're going to score.
Yeah. I will say I haven't been drafting Tua, and it's probably over concerns over his health, the head injuries last year.
I mean he's healthy right now.
He is, and he got the full sleeve tattoo, so he's looking like The Rock right now.
Yeah. Dwayne Johnson season incoming.
He's about to level up, I guess. But the injury part of it aside, he was incredibly efficient. He averaged, what was it, like the most yards per attempt in the NFL last year?
Probably.
having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will do that for you.
And Mike McDaniel knowing how to scheme those guys, and Tua just put it where you need to put it, and let
And they
them do the rest.
and it's not just the receivers either. The offensive line is solid, and in the backfield, they have probably two of the fastest humans in the NFL as well, in Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Where
They still have Jeff Wilson too, don't they?
yeah, like
And Jeff Wilson is not slow.
No, Tua with these running backs can literally dump a pass off that turns into a 60-yard touchdown. Like,
Yeah.
there's big plays all over the place in this offense, and Tua doesn't have to be anything spectacular for the big plays
He's
to come.
probably the highest ceiling game manager we've seen in the NFL.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be good. Like, he's Jimmy G back there if Jimmy G could throw 6 touchdowns in a game.
If Jimmy G would ever throw the ball deep, it would be Tua.
Yeah.
Like, if Geno Smith was the quarterback for this Miami Dolphins team, we'd be talking about Geno Smith right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Tua at 9. At 10, we've got Dak Prescott.
Not sexy, but he's still top 10.
Yeah, I mean, he's, just like you said, not sexy, but he's top 10. He had a little bit of an injury bug, or not injury bug. He had an interception bug last year.
And an injury bug.
And also an injury bug. But they added Brandon Cooks in the offseason to kind of fill out the wide receiver room. They already had CeeDee Lamb, who was a stud.
I would like to refer back to PFF. I sent you this post. You probably said something, but it like ranked the NFC or West, whatever division they're in, like ranked each team's most valuable non-quarterback. And so for the Eagles, it was, I don't remember, it was like Fletcher Cox or AJ Brown.
It was Jason
or somebody.
Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. I don't agree with it, but sure, I'm okay with that one. For the Lions, it was, I don't remember, Saquon Barkley, I think. Then for...
You mean the Giants?
The Giants. The Giants, yeah. Saquon got traded to the Lions. Surprise.
Whoa!
And then they got to Dallas, and you got Micah Parsons,
Yeah.
get CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard. No, they picked Brandon Cooks as the most valuable non-quarterback on the team. So Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons doesn't exist. CeeDee Lamb must have died. Tony Pollard's dead.
I don't even know how. I don't know how you can explain
How do you
that
justify
one away.
that?
I don't know. That makes no sense to me.
How do you get a writer position there? I'll take one.
You could, because if you just pulled something out of your butt, like Brandon Cooks is the most valuable non-quarterback on the Cowboys, then you could get a spot at PFF.
He's not even the most valuable receiver they've got.
No. Oh. Anyway, Dak at 10.
Side rant. Gone.
I don't know. I've got some slight reservations about the offense. But, I mean, he does have CeeDee Lamb. I think Brandon Cooks is still a good receiver. The offensive line is still solid, and they've got Tony Pollard. So, like, how bad can the offense be? It's not going to be a bad offense.
It's not going to be as good as it was under Kellen Moore, but it'll be fine.
But it was still, I mean, last year they were the number one scoring team in the NFL. So if they're worse, I mean, they're probably going to have to be worse because you can't be better. They were incredible the past like 3 years. So, they could drop to be like the number 10 offense in the NFL, and Dak could end up going for like 27 touchdowns instead of maybe like 35, 40, like he had been doing there for a little bit. So, yeah, Dak at 10. He feels like maybe a slightly juiced up version of Kirk Cousins.
A juiced Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I'm good with that.
At 11, we've got Deshaun Watson. Admittedly, it feels a little weird, feels a little bad, but also having him on the list feels a little weird, feels a little bad.
I think he's going to bounce back and have a good season.
I do too. I mean, we've got him at 10, but realistically, where does he finish? Probably not at 10. I think he finishes higher than that.
Yeah, I think last time he was playing, he was a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he gets back there.
No.
But I can see a world where he finishes 7 or 8.
I could absolutely see that. And,
yeah,
you might be thinking like, well, if you ranked him at 10, that means you think he's going to finish at 10. And like, Not necessarily, because these rankings are more like what is the most likely outcome instead of the, the plus outcome or the minus outcome. For me, like most likely for Deshaun Watson is a top 10 finish, but nothing spectacular. But I do think that with him, there's like a 35% chance he's a top 7 quarterback.
Yeah,
A sizable amount.
Amari Cooper, say he's great. Elijah Moore finally steps into his own. You've got David Njoku there. Still a good offensive line. Maybe
Chubb.
involve Chubb a little bit more as a pass rusher. Yeah. I mean, and Deshaun can run the ball.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too, is Deshaun was a pretty decent, like a 400 yards a year kind of rusher for about a 3-year stretch. And
he was throwing for 4,500 yards a year.
Yeah. He was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think we forget how good a quarterback he was on a very bad team.
He was fantastic.
But at the same time, I don't want to mention his name.
Yeah. Don't necessarily want him. Doesn't feel good, but he'll be a solid quarterback for you.
In the 9th round this year, he just feels like I have to take him.
That's a smash.
Number 12, we got Kirk Cousins, Mr. Chains himself.
Kirk's that man.
Kirk is that guy. Star of the quarterback documentary.
That was a good show, by the way.
I still haven't watched it.
You haven't watched it?
Not yet. I'm stuck on Formula One, man.
They've announced. I actually need to watch that too. I talked to somebody about that the other day. Said it's really good.
Yeah, super good.
But they've announced season 2, and it's going to be Joe Burrow on it.
No way.
Yes.
Who else? Did Herbert get on it?
They haven't announced yet. They've only said 1, and it's going to be Burrow so far. Probably 2 more.
I heard that Herbert
cool with Burrow.
Potentially would be on it, and if Herbert and Burrow were on it, I would crap my pants.
Oh my gosh, dude! at that point, don't like they had the superstar quarterback, they had kind of the mid-level quarterback in Cousins, and then the journeyman in Mariota.
Yeah,
go 3 top ones. Go get Allen, Herbert, and Burrow.
Oh my goodness,
that would be exciting.
Oh my goodness, I would lose my mind. That aside, Kirk Cousins is the final guy in our top 12, and he's probably the most consistently good quarterback that you don't want to draft in fantasy football over the past 4 years.
He is the always, all right, I didn't get a good quarterback. Screw it. I guess I'll get Kirk Cousins.
And he ends up being good for you. I mean, 3 years in a row. I have drafted Kirk Cousins as a punt quarterback 3 years consecutively. And I have been just fine with Kirk Cousins. Okay. Like, I mean, last year, I made it to the championship in one of our dynasty leagues because I punted on quarterback. I took Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins in a Superflex league. And then I grabbed Geno Smith with like the last pick in the draft. Ended up making it all the way to the championship because I just didn't draft quarterbacks early.
Yeah. And your other positions were set. And he'll be just fine. And guess what? He's still got Justin Jefferson, who people are projecting him to go for 2,000 yards this year, which is very possible. He's the best receiver in the league, probably. You got T.J. Hawkinson, who's a top 3 tight end, I think, for real life football. And they just add first-round receiver Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
So the passing can only be better.
It really only it can only go up from here. We do have a couple other names that we want to mention as guys that, like, if you're in a draft and, in my case, if I miss Trevor Lawrence, I'm considering punting the position and just going for later round guys, and I'll just load up on wide receivers and running backs.
Yep.
And usually at that point, I will either grab, like, Kirk Cousins or one of these others and just roll with them as my quarterback. But give us a couple of these names here that if you're going to punt, try to look to grab these guys.
Yeah, if this is probably the biggest upside punt, Anthony Richardson, assuming he starts, everything's pointing to him starting. I think you had him at 12. I was the one probably a little bit lower on him. Still just because I don't know if he's going to be 100% sure of the starter, but we'll see. But the upside is there.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Richardson here, he's definitely got top 12 upside baked in. A couple other names that I'm looking at. Daniel Jones, I know you're a little higher on him than I am. I do like him as a punt quarterback, but I think a lot of people view him right now as like the 12th guy, maybe.
I don't mind it, honestly.
I don't hate it.
He's got the rushing upside. They got Darren Waller. He's got, Saquon's coming back. New contract. They believe in him. It's his time.
Yeah. A couple other guys, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, they were traded for one another, and I think right now I would prefer Geno Smith in fantasy. Feels bad, but that's where we're at.
Yep. Not too much to say. Upside's there for both of them. Got weapons. Russ has got a new coach. We'll see.
We shall see. All right, let's do a little tight end speed run here because really only
not a whole
6
lot
or
to talk
7
about
of
this
them.
position.
Yeah, 6 or 7 of them are good. The rest of them suck. Honestly, 8 on, I don't want any of them anyway. So, who cares? But running through the tight ends, number 1, big surprise, Travis Kelce. I don't get mad at you if you take him mid to late first round in drafts. He's great.
Yep. Next 2.
Number 2, Mark Andrews at number 2. Again, I don't think this is crazy stuff. I think it is. You're probably the highest on TJ Hawkinson of anybody I know, and you still have Mark Andrews at 2.
Yeah, I'd have Mark Andrews at 2. I think they're kind of interchangeable. I would prefer Mark Andrews still, but I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be fantastic. I think they're kind of in a tier of their own. After Kelsey's in tier 1, then it's Andrews and Hawkinson here, and then there's a tier break after them.
Yeah. Again, I think we talked about the Ravens offense a little bit. We didn't talk about Hawkinson a ton and the offense with Kirk, but
if you want to talk about Hawkinson, I'll talk about Hawkinson.
He got force-fed a bunch at the end of last year.
You know I'm a big fan. He's on it. He's ascending. Still in his actually rookie contract. He'll get signed to a big one by the Vikings, I think. But he's been ascending the whole time. The trade really didn't make sense. What the Lions did there, I don't get it. But he hits the ground running with a brand new offense. You would expect a tight end switching. He's got to learn the new blocking schemes, learn the new routes, what they want to do. No, he went to Minnesota, immediately started having 9-10 targets a game. I'm not too concerned about Jordan Addison. It's going to impact him some. I get that, but I think he's still going to have a huge workload there. Kirk loves tight ends. Kirk trusts him already. He's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think he is. We've got him at 3. So, I do think he's going to be
And you had
solid.
him at 3, too. You can't say it was just me. You had him there, too.
I did. I had him at 3 there, too. And, I do think it's because I don't have, the volume conviction in some of these other guys. Even though I do think they're very, very good, I know Hawkinson's probably going to get 100-plus targets. I don't know how efficient he's going to be with his targets. Last year he was not super efficient with his work. He had 86 catches and it was not 1,000 yards. So, he's not Mark Andrews. He's not Travis Kelce, but that does not mean he's bad.
I think he is ascending, though. He's going that direction. He has gone up every single year, and he's going to keep that.
Fair enough. Number 4 is Darren Waller. I'm very high on Darren Waller this year, admittedly.
I'm pretty high on him. You actually had him lower than this. I'm the reason we put him at 4.
I know. And I think the more I have thought about it, I would rather, if push came to shove, we've got Waller at 4, we've got George Kittle at 5. If push came to shove, though, who am I going to take in an actual draft? I'm probably going to take Waller.
I think he's going to go later in
That's true.
ADP than Kittle.
That's
and
probably
I prefer him to Kittle anyway.
Yeah, if Kittle and Waller are both on the clock in the 6th round, I think I would take Waller. Even though Kittle goes in the 5th round, Waller goes end of 6th. If they're both there, I probably would take Waller straight up.
Yeah, I think he's the clear top weapon in his offense.
Yeah, and that's where it is. It's just I know for a fact he's going to be the number one option in his team's offense. And I don't know that that's the case with George Kittle. Even though he's going to be in a top 5 offense, it could be a Christian McCaffrey and a Brandon Ayuk week. Or it could be a Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel week. Like, Kittle could go 4 weeks without doing much of anything, whereas Waller, I think, is going to be very, very good every single week.
Let's put it this way. I think George Kittle is the second best tight end in football.
Yeah.
But for fantasy, he's not going to be that way.
Yeah. I agree. Which, that puts us at 6.
Brings
and
us... Oh, we did. Kittle's at 5. I don't know if we said that.
Yeah, we have Kittle at 5.
Yeah.
At 6, we've got Dallas Goedert. And you want to talk about a guy that is ascending, even though he's 28 years old. I think Dallas Goedert is probably the slept-on gem of the tight end position. Maybe because he was the most efficient tight end last year on a per-catch basis. And his draft price just has not caught up to, I think, like, he goes in the end of the 7th round after Kittle, after Waller. And I know we have him ranked there, but like, Goddard in the 7th round is, I think, one of the steals of fantasy. When you can get a tight end that you feel really comfortable starting every single week. He's probably the last guy that I feel super comfortable starting every single week.
Yeah. I am good with that. Number 7.
Kyle Pitts.
Want to have him higher, can't do it.
I feel like we've made like our hay on Kyle Pitts stuff.
Last season we talked bad about Kyle Pitts every single week.
We talked about Kyle Pitts very often. And Taysom Hill.
I'm gonna keep doing it. I love Kyle Pitts in Dynasty still.
Yeah.
I think he's not gonna be that good this year, I don't think. Well, the talent's there. We will see. Love him in Dynasty. I think 2024 on, he's going to be fantastic. This year, hold your breath.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned just because I don't know what Desmond Ridder is. I don't know what the offense is. I know they want to run the ball, but I don't know what that means for Kyle Pitts and Drake London yet.
I think moving forward, there is a real chance Atlanta is really bad this year. Arthur Smith is fired. We get a new quarterback and a new head coach.
I think I would love that.
That would be I want either A, have a bad season, go get Drake May or Caleb Williams. B, and 100% hire the Lions offensive coordinator. Go get him right now.
Oh, yeah. What's that dude's name?
Ben something.
Ben Johnson, that's right.
Ben Johnson, yep.
Dude's incredible.
Or go trade for Kyler Murray and when the Cardinals inevitably get to 101 somehow.
How would you feel if they traded for Trey Lance?
Not good.
Okay. I've seen that floated around.
Not good.
Okay. We're going to avoid that one then. I have seen that, and I have been wondering how you would feel about that one.
Not happy if that happens.
Not happy, Bob. Not one bit.
Somebody needs to make me the GM of the Falcons. I'll get us to the Super Bowl.
You'll get it right.
I'll get us there.
Number 8. How about this? We're just going to go 8 through 12.
Yeah,
and then if there's anything you want to say about it, go for it. At 8, we have Pat Freiermuth. At 9, we have Evan Ingram. At 10, we have David Njoku. At 11, we have Greg Dulcich. And at 12, rounding out our top 12, is Cole Kmet.
11 and 12, Greg Dulcich, Cole Kmet, don't care. Evan Ingram, I'm higher on him than you are. I actually think Evan Ingram's sneaky to have a good year. He's a guy I think could sneak into the top 6 or 7 tight ends this year. He was good last year, really good. I like David Njoku too. I like Pat Freiermuth as a sneaky in PPR leagues because they're going to dump the ball off to him a lot.
Yeah, I think Pat Freiermuth is a pretty decent target if you're punting on the position because I think you can get him in like the 10th round right now or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a good spot to grab your punt tight end. Greg Dulcich also is – because, like, when I'm looking at these guys, I'm thinking, okay, who can, like, explode and end up being a lot better than we thought he was going to be?
For me, that's Evan Ingram.
For you, that's Evan Ingram. For me, it's Greg Dulcich.
Yeah.
So, And I don't hate Evan Ingram being there. He was really good in stretches last season. But
again, you're punting on the position. Ingram's got the upside to win you a week.
Yeah. I think it's because we've seen it. Like before last year, though, we looked at Evan Ingram as a meme.
Yeah. But also, he's now on what should be a good offense with a very good quarterback.
I will say, though, Dulcich last year missed the first 6 weeks of the season with an injury. Was like in and out of training camp. And, well, he missed the first 5 weeks, sorry. And then he ended up finishing the season in 10 games with 411 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 12.5 yards per catch, which, you love T.J. Hawkinson, but T.J. Hawkinson has never averaged 12 yards a catch in a season.
But we see him get 10 targets a game.
We do. But if you give Greg Dulcich 7 targets a game, he is a top 6 tight end.
Yeah, but do you really believe in that?
Do I believe he gets 7 targets? I don't know.
Yeah.
Now that they've lost all their receivers, I think it's very possible.
That is fair. That is fair.
And I mean, if you believe in the offensive resurgence, I think you believe in Greg Dulcich.
We will see. Again, outside of the top 3, pick your poison.
Yeah, honestly, outside of like the top couple guys, I don't care. They all suck.
Yep. Have fun with tight ends this year, guys.
That'll do it for this one. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you leave a rating and a review wherever you are checking out the episode. Next week, we're coming back. We're doing a mock draft. It's going to be a good one. We're very excited about it. We'll see you.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Brothers podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and want to connect to us, follow us on Instagram at @FantasyBrothers_ or on Twitter at @FantasyBros_. If you want to support the show, you can do that at Patreon /Fantasy Brothers.